It's patch day, everybody down on patch day. Looking forward to the changes. Guys, we are looking at the Smite patch notes, December 3rd, 2012, Smite version 0.1.1215, guys. And the biggest thing about this new patch is the new game mode, Domination. So I'm going to have to stop using Domination in my titles, otherwise people are going to YouTube and hear Domination gameplay and they're gonna have my arena or my PvP live on Conquest. So that is not what they want. Probably get thumbs down. They'll be like, this isn't Domination. I'll be like, I just said I'm dominating them, not that I'm playing Domination. Anyways, guys, it's Peabutnutterninja here, and we are looking at some of the changes. So Domination, I will be playing some games with Domination, but right now it's bugged, so I can't actually get into a game so far. I think they're going to have to fix something because at 68 seconds, every time I play, somebody gets kicked out of game. And with that, you can't start. I think if you lock in at 58 or before 68 seconds, you can actually get a match. But this means that all 10 people have to lock in before 68 seconds, and there is actually no lobby chat, so you can't even tell your teammates. You have to type out one by one. Lock in before 68 seconds. Whisper blah 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 name. Lock in before 68 seconds, and that's never going to happen unless you're playing with 2 5-made teams, 2 pre-mades, but I don't know about that so far. So Dominion, there's a few videos out on it so far, especially one released by Smite, and basically you are king of the hill, you have 3 capture points, and you lose tickets, kind of like half arena, half conquest. So there is the 3 lanes, and if you capture the 3 points, you have to capture at least 2 out of 3, and then the enemy's tickets will start counting down. Minions don't count for anything, enemy kills don't count for anything as well. Actually, tickets are reduced when your side control 2 or 3, as well as each enemy kill. So actually, I do think enemy kills do count for enemy tickets. So okay, that is a change that will be implemented into the game mode. And so, in addition to the 5 permanently free gods, there will now be additional 5 free gods at any point in time. Free additional gods will rotate over time. So guys, you will get a total of 10 gods to play at any given time. So you get the Ra, Kali, Ymir, Sun Wukong, and Artemis unlocked, and then you get 5 rotating gods as you play. So expect a lot of really bad new people to play into your new matches. Just as a little warning, but I mean, it happens. I mean, you play a god that you've never played before. You see in here, you see Bakasura, and then you see him jump around, and you're like, oh my god, that is so cool. And hopefully I will be able to keep tabs. I do have a Smurf account in which I can kind of showcase which gods are going to be rotated for the week. So pretty cool. I do like that idea very much so. And so when you first enter blah blah blah, top ranked player on each side now has the opportunity to ban a god from play. So guys, this is huge. When a god is banned, it is banned for both sides. All gods are bannable. And so that free gods can be bannable because, I mean, you have to ban that Wukong, right guys? Yes, you do if you play in turn you play. And so you can choose your preferred region in the play screen, and you can also change quick casting. So there's 2 types of casting. The normal, where you hit number 2 or whatever your skill is, and then you left click and then the skill will launch. So quick casting is you just push and release number 2, and when you push number 2, it would show the icon or show the image of the targeting decal of the ability, and then when you release, it fires the ability. But now there's instant, where you just tap. As soon as you push down on it, the ability is fired. Great if you have, you know, an ymir impale. I think I would definitely use that for instant casting mode. And so time spent on matching state is now reduced drastically, so you'll be sent into the match lobby much faster. Very cool. Auto purchase settings are now server side at a player level, so you can have these settings reset between each patch. So you'd come in, you'd be like, oh, there's a new god, and then it would make you auto buy and auto skill, and you'd be like, what did I just spend my money on? So very poor, but I do like this. So towers have had their health increase except phoenixes. So phoenixes are the same. Very nice. This prevents a lot of early tower takes, especially if you have a really powerful lane. Probably in maybe 5 or 6 pushes you can actually take out the tower, no problem. And that is pretty quick. I think you can get a tower down in probably like maybe 3-4 minutes. 4 minutes, I would say. 2 minutes if you're amazing and you just absolutely wreck the enemy team. But 4 minutes is probably a good quick time. And so now you can change the play screen, so your preferred region, your last selected tab, join leave instead of join queue and leave queue, some UI stuff, some other bugs, some buttons modified. Very, very cool. And guys, here's a huge part about this patch, guys. The abilities are changed again. And I was just talking about this in my Hebo video, which I hopefully will release before this video. And basically, the abilities have been changed drastically. So now, the passive is still there on all the abilities, but they changed the actives and the cooldown. So look at this creeping curse. The slow has been reduced from 35 to 30. This cooldown has been increased, excuse me, to 150 seconds. And Hand of the Gods, this change was drastically needed. So damage done to minions has been reduced by 20%. Passive has been changed so that you take 30% less damage from jungle minions. And before, the passive was that you get 10 HP for every minion or NPC kind of thing that you hit. So if you got meditation and you got Hand of the Gods, you could just have infinite HP and infinite mana, basically, if you stayed in lane. Especially if you got some type of life steal on top of that, you would not ever have to go back. You would never have to use a heal pot unless you got stunned or killed. And so Heavenly Agility is got super buff, 35 to 40%. The duration is nerfed 5 seconds to 3 seconds, and also makes you immune to slows, just like Sprint. So it is a faster group sprint, but the duration is much slower. And again, the cooldown 150 seconds. So be sure to use that at the right time. So Intensified Defense is removed. I don't know if anybody has been using this, but it is really, I thought it would be strong. It does 150 damage. I think that they should have increased the range of the tower as well. I think that would have been very interesting to do. So Meditation now is drastically different. So passive has been changed so that when you have less than 40% of your mana regeneration is double. So this is very contingent on your mana regeneration. So if you're a physical guy, and let's say MLG Bastet, and you don't really have mana to begin with, you're gonna not really have that much mana, except the active, which is 75%. I mean, it is still 120 seconds, which is pretty quick, but you might have to buy 1 or 2 mana pots here to supplement if you are just burning through all your mana without any cause or concern about your mana usage at all. And so Peabut now removes pulls again. I do think that this is much needed, as this really helps Peabut against stuns, against pulls. And again, the cooldown increased to 120 seconds. So you can go in there with Ares, and once you Peabut the first Ares pull, then now you can go Peabut. You can't Peabut the second Ares pull if Ares does it again right away. So Ares is going to have to be really aggressive with his ultis. Again, don't wait for your cooldown to show and then wait 30 seconds, because then they're just going to Peabut right out of your Ares pull. You have to just go in there and not suicide. You have to go in there and just gung-ho and pull everyone like a bro. Alright, guys? So Sprint, the lifetime of the active buff has been changed to 6 seconds compared to 14 seconds before, so halved, and this is very much needed. And again, the active speed buff is only 35%, but again, this is still very strong. But the biggest thing that changed about Sprint is the cooldown has been increased to 150 seconds, so no longer is it really super worth it to get it. I think getting you still do get the 10% normal speed buff, the passive speed buff, so it is quite a lot. So we're going to have to experiment with this just a little bit, or at least I will experiment with it. I still think it's going to be very powerful just because of the passive. An additional 10% plus immunity slows, plus the 6 seconds of immunity slows, and that is key. But again, Peabut is now better because it removes pulls and stuns. Very good. So recommended items that have mana potions have now been changed to healing potions. So yes, healing potions is more important than meditation. Very good. And here's a huge change that I think was absolutely needed, was the jungle change. And so XP reward for clearing a buff has been reduced by 50%. And guys, everyone would get Hand of Gods because you would get such an EXP boost. You would start with your green or your blue buff, and then you would get the Hand of Gods, and you'd almost be level 2. You'd gain 75% of your EXP from level 1 to level 2. If you're Arachne and you were jungling on right or jungling on left, you go for the attack buff, you go for the speed buff, and then you get the blue buff. You're already level 2 by the time that enemy minions are even coming out. So now you're level 2, and then you just continue to jungle on, and by the time the enemy's level 4 with Arachne, you could be level 6. And even if you're not Arachne, you could have done this with a double coordinated hand of gods. So let's say you go Ymir and you go Bacchus, or Ymir and Anhir, then you could just, one of you busts his hand of gods, and you know, you can kill one group, and then you can go for the armor buff, get both groups, and then go to lane. Now you're level 2, and then after that you can go kill them or push them to the tower, and then you could go steal all their buffs, the red buff, the speed buff, the cooldown buff, and by the time you got all that, you would be more than 2 levels ahead by the time they were level 5 or even level 4. And again, you get that ulti right away. So I mean, as soon as you hit level 5, you do get a huge advantage if the enemy does not have an ulti as well. So then you can, if you're Artemis, you can just use that boar, stun them, and usually they're not going to be able to get away from that boar. Or if you're Anhur, you can just use the pillar, not the pillar, but his damaging thing. I forgot his Fury Spear, Furia the Spears or something. I'm not really sure what the name's called, but I mean, you just use that, and again, that's like 300, 600 damage standing with an Anhur, and that is a lot of damage. So I think this is going to really help balance. And again, the protection buff has been nerfed from 50 to 35. 50 is a lot of protection, let me tell you. And so base movement speed has been increased by 10%. So this really decreases the usefulness of boots. Again, it's going to still matter, but it's a huge drastic change. And projectile speeds all increased to 100 feet per second, except Anhur, Artemis, Cupid are still very fast at 110 per second. Artemis got a slight nerf. Her crowd control immunity duration decreased from 6 seconds to 3 seconds, and that's still enough to kind of counter anybody. Like if there's a Hades trying to pull you, you can still pop your ulti and walk out of his ulti, and that's fine. I think that is a good nerf. But guys, look at these changes to these gods. This is gonna be really, really crazy. And look, Cupid, everything was changed to magic damage. So look at this. Ability consumes 10 stacks, gives him a 20% physical power buff. So, and then his base attack speed is increased. But guys, look, damage type has been changed from physical to magical. It is slightly increased, but again, it's magical. So his base healing increased, but his damage contribution is changed to 30% magical. And again, Flutter now consumes all your stacks by Love Struck, and each stack, and you could get up to 10 stacks. So 20 stacks, 10 stacks, 10 stacks. And so now you can get a 20% attack speed buff on top of his Flutter, on top of, and it's a 6 seconds increase in attack speed. So again, that got super buffed, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Cupid plays now that he's magical instead of physical. Very, very interesting change as to why they would do this, but I guess they didn't want to have 2 or 3 really overpowered ranged physicals. And I mean, Cupid just gets so strong later on, especially in game. So you still have to fix Anhur, as he is still really dominant at endgame, and that's fine to have carries, but I still think Anhur is dominant at any point in the game from beginning to end. So I don't know how they're gonna have to balance it or scale it a little bit better. I think what is the biggest thing about Anhur is his stun, and I don't know if you really want to get rid of it, because that is one of the coolest things. Is if you're really skillful with Anhur, you're gonna get your stuns off. You're gonna get rewarded for it, and it's really, really rewarding to get an impale right on the pillar. So I don't know. I think it needs to be nerfed, but I don't want to change because I love playing Anhur because of that stun. And Freya did get a few, I guess, buffs. And so Freya was already strong to begin with. The only thing that she's not good with is that she can't really get away. So she would use her Banish either to initiate or to get away. And Banish is not a guaranteed survival anyways. So it's a pretty poor escape skill, but it's pretty good engage skill. But what they did was they increased the durations from the base level to 1.4. And this Banish is really strong. If you have a Freya Anhur lane, it is almost impossible to do anything. She would just go and banish you. Anhur would just use his pillar, stun you, and then Freya would just use a pulse and kill you while you can't even get away from the stun or the banish. So very, very strong. I don't know why they buffed her. I think it's because she was dying a lot, and that doesn't have anything to do with her damage. It has only stuff to do with her escapes, and which she has none. And so Sobek, a very, very interesting interesting passive. So the name has been changed to Blessing of the Nile from Armor of the Nile. So each hit now gives Sobek 15 physical power, stacking up to 3 times. So rather than Sobek just being a magic tank and just kind of hitting for nothing, he now gets up to 45 physical power if he smacks you in the face 3 times. So that is quite a lot. I don't know why they buffed Sobek like this, as he was pretty good. His kill ratio was still really low, but he was a tank. So if you were playing properly, you wouldn't be getting many of the kills, and your teammates would be getting absolutely fed. And so if you have really good players, then what is going to happen is you're going to have a stacked player, possibly in here, possibly, I don't know, Anubis or somebody with a stun, or even Cupid, right? And so that's why they're nerfing Cupid and her and Anubis. Well, not Anubis yet, because he's just magic and he doesn't really have any escapes. But anyways, Cupid and here. So all the nerfs are coming in from the kill-death ratio, because their kill-death ratios would be inflated by a Ymir or Sobek. And Sobek and Ymir are both getting buffs. Because they don't get any kills. They probably get a few deaths, and they get assists up the wazoo. So I think they should have some formula where you equate assists to kills. And look at this buff though. Thor recently got a huge buff with his hammer flash, so you could hit twice with the hammer and then flash them. Then you could use the spin to win with Thor, and you could do a lot of damage, but the enemy could still get away. So now what they did was they added a slow. No, they didn't add a slow, they added a stun. They changed his fissure to now appear almost instantly, doing damage plus percentage of your physical power. And then not only that, they can now stun enemies for up to 2 seconds. So guys, this is ridiculous. And so Thor's ultimate is actually really, really hard to hit as well. So they reduce the amount of time the warning is visible when Thor is about to come crashing down. And I don't know if they needed to do that. I think Thor was a really skill-based player. If you did hit them with your ulti, I mean, now you can hit them with your ulti and stun them for 2 seconds on top. So now you're going to do massive amounts of damage with Thor. So I'm very interested to see how he plays. I'm probably going to do some Thor gameplay in the very, very near future, considering how much buffs he's getting in these last 2 patches. And last but not least is Ymir. So Ymir is, I think, one of the best tanks in the game, because he has that freeze, and no other god has that freeze. And then he has a wall, so if you're running after you use your jump, Ymir can put up the wall, and now that's kind of like a slow slash stun. It's very, very unique that Ymir has that wall. No other god except Thor, but Thor's fissure was really bad, but now it's gonna have a stun, so it's gonna be really, really good. So anyways, Ymir, now his Frostbest is going to do a lot of magical damage in addition to the stun, and I don't think that was really needed. Ymir, he would just stun him, then Anhir would come, throw a pillar, stun him again, and then if you had Anubis on your team, Anubis would just bandage him again, and then now you have a triple stun of 5 seconds, I believe, or maybe even longer, maybe 6 seconds, and no god can survive that, not without Peabut, and then you would just use that, and then you could just, smack them with your auto attacks. You don't even have to use your ultis on them when they're stunned, but you can if you want, and that guarantees death for any god. And so I don't know, I don't think this change was needed. I think Ymir is strong enough as is. So guys, these are all the changes so far in this. A lot of god changes, a lot of ability changes, a lot of things. So anything that I record now could be different in a few weeks. So if that happens, I will try to re-record new gods, new changes, just to show you how good they are, how bad they are after each patch. So this is right now like 6 or 5 different gods that I can look at just to see how they play. And I haven't even showcased Cupid yet, so it might be time for me to showcase Cupid, as I really do like playing with him. So guys, that is all for today's December 3rd patch notes. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope you're well. I hope you're warm. Stay warm wherever you are, guys. And as always, peace, love, and ninja. Peabutnutterninja signing out. Bye-bye, guys.